and some players getting released, some relief of that announcement by Softy, as we saw Matt's Matt and jokes about Matt's hand with a bit of poor preparation compared to according to Matt's words. So yeah, we'll see how everything goes for all these players. Let's hope we're not going to be able we're not going to get any technical issues on all the players. I'm especially thinking of Martin, who has had plenty of issues getting into the Grand League, multiple connection issues.
Yeah, so Marston, also a very young player, very talented young player. He's only 17 years old, playing for Poland, and he had, sadly, one of the most unfortunate storylines in Grand League. Wasn't able to connect to 2 or 3 steps, and that is enough to ruin your overall scoreline, but still one of the players with the most potential here, and we're hoping to see him move on. But we have the first run here, and I'm curious what the strategy is going to be, because you don't usually play a match in a time attack format like this. And when you do, you have to figure out what is your plan going to be. Are you going to go immediately for a first run to kind of feel yourself out, or are you going to immediately start going for risky runs here? So we can see the field. Right now we are spectating Marcin, a bit ahead in the pack here in the first runs. So some players have already failed and are already restarting. Again, the way this is going to work is that as the timer on the right here ticks down to 0, the players with the fastest times will get the most points. So it seems that most of them are just driving a first run here to get a good feeling, and we're going to see what they can do.
They're all going to try to get a banker here. It seems as though we got Gwen, and it seems as though we got one of the XLT players. No, it's Gwen, Bren, and Pack leading up the field, and it is going to be the 15-year-old Gueldal Dupart who's going to get across the line first, and we'll get a time of reference, so 1:13.584. Marcin just behind with 1:14.191. Yannick's third with a 1:14.227, and Pack just behind, less than a hundredth of a second behind him.
Very, very close there, and the 2 youngest players get off to the best start here with the fastest 2 times. But we have Tricky coming up now. He made an early mistake, now going towards the finish. This is not going to be a very top time though. Gets a 1:14.4. Massa now up to his first finish here. Let's see what he can do. Oh, not going to match Gwen, but he's pretty close. A 1:14 flat. And Coco rolling in 1:14.01. So yeah, good run to start it out here. Perhaps you should have another look at Gwen as he's now starting onto another run, and see what he's able to do here.
So far, we have only 3 players who haven't had banked a run. We got Afi and Hydra for XLT, and we got Revolution, who is yet to say the time as well. And meanwhile, the last man in the field currently is Egger with a 1:15.532, but I think that this time is not representative of the pace that the Hungarian player is actually capable of. So we're going to have to wait and see what he can actually pull. He's actually coming up to the finish line right now. Only the identity left to cross the no grip, and into the U-turn. Watch out for the particular checkpoint that was so costly to Tween, especially during the loser bracket final semi-final, and it's going to be a 1:14.431, which puts him up into third, which actually doesn't really put him up any place. It gets shortens the gap to less than 1 second to the leader Gwen.
Yeah, and we saw Marcin there in between all that action, getting into the 1:13s as well, a 1:13.746, now almost matching Gwen there with the pace. So I think we're going to be able to see many times of 1:13 here. I think that's the level they're playing at. 1:13 mid to high will be time you're going to need if you want one of those top positions. And Massa, coming up to the ending now, is on that pace. He drove a 1:14 flat, and he is 30 hundredths ahead of that pace that he had earlier. So with a good identity here now, he could set a very fast time. But
it's going to be a hard break. He was a little bit too tight on the turn, and that's going to force him to completely abandon this run and get back on the feet. And it seems as though we got already 4 players within the 1:13s. Gwen still in third with a 0.584. Afi in second place, less than a tenth behind. Then Yannick's completing a Swiss 2-3. Yannick's with 1:13.7, and 0.02 of a second between him and Marcin. Wow.
Yeah, we saw from Massa there how costly it can be to make a mistake in that final part of the run in time attack, because suddenly a minute has gone by and you haven't made any progress on the scoreboard here. And now with only 6 minutes left, you could start to feel the pressure, because you need to get a run going again, and you need to not make that same mistake once you get to the ending again. So yeah, pressure's on now for Massa to correct that. See if he can get another good run going.
Pressure's on, and it seems as though I'm again going to make an analogy here. This is really much akin to like the final part of Formula 1 qualifying, where you only get like the same amount of time, 10 to 12 minutes, to get a good time run and set yourself on the grid. It's exactly the same kind of thing where everything has to be perfectly timed in terms of the runs, in terms of when you cross the line and stuff like that. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how players cope with the pressure of actually banging a good time on the dot.
But there we saw it, Gwen coming in now with a 1:13.39, and this is what many people have been excited to see. Will the young Frenchman step it up here today and tomorrow and get himself into Grand League? A 1:13.39 is certainly a time that could take him there if he keeps that pace on other maps as well.
Yeah, it seems as though we got the change in the stream title finally. Can we get some pogs in chat for the change in title? Thank you very much to the owners of the Mania Planet channel for allowing us to cast, and also finally updating the stream title, which we couldn't do on our own. We're really sorry about that. But yeah, so far Gwen is looking really strong. A 0.392. 3/10, almost 3/10 clear of Yonex in second place, and meanwhile Egger is currently coming up towards the finish line. Let's actually see what he can get. The final checkpoint at the across the line, he will go up to P9 with a 1:14.114.
Yeah, so currently looking at the scoreboard now, Haedra, the only player who has yet to complete a run on this track, seems to be going for the method of trying to just get one good run in and utilizing all his attempts here to get a very fast time. But as the clock ticks down now, you might start to feel the pressure because you still have no time on the scoreboard to stand with, and in that run he's again gonna restart here, so time's ticking.
Time is ticking, and it was a real shame because he was actually in a pretty good run, which would have only put him 0.1 behind the actual leader, which is Gwen, as of CP number 6, I think it as of CP number 5, I think. And it was only in the dirt pile that he actually made a mistake, so it's going to be really difficult for the XLT player to actually get his mindset back together and try to get that time banker going.
Yeah, so pressure's on now for the last players on the scoreboard here. It is Matt, it is Tricky, and it is Bren, who all have times in the 1:14.3s here. And with only 3 minutes left, they are going to have to start some of their finals attempts here. Really try to get a run going past that start here. Can be one of the most decisive parts, and especially in time attack, you're trying to risk as much as you can because you, of course, can't afford to make a few mistakes. But in these final minutes, you're going to have to eventually go for a run and just try to finish it to improve your score here.
Meanwhile, it seems as though Afi has managed to close the gap somewhat to Gwen. He's currently less than 1/10 of a second, around 0.05 of a second back down on the French Game War driver. Yonex still in third with 1:13.268. And so far, we've got the top 7 who have dipped down under the 1:14s.
Yeah, exciting to see Roland actually getting a fast time here too, because Roland was one of the players in the Grand League that looked the most out of place, but maybe now with the time to practice and the time to really refine his art on these 6 maps that they're playing in the Combine, we could see him do something big here. Very exciting. Roland, the Austrian player, with that time he should get some decent points here. Maybe has time to improve it once more. That remains to be seen. Meanwhile, we have Revolution here. Now coming up to the ending, I wonder if he's on a good time here. One more identity goes so close here, but I don't think that's
going to be a restart for him. And meanwhile, Bren is also coming up towards the end, 0.3 behind leader at the last checkpoint. He's coming through the identity now. Let's actually see if he can get a good banker time. Remember, he's not really far down. He's currently in P9 with a 1:13.8. Oh, and that's not going to be an improvement, unfortunately. Still in P9 with a 1:13.8.
Small touch there on the ending, and Bren will not close that run out. Again, we only have 1 minute and 40 seconds here, so let's actually go into the overview and see if we have any players right now coming up to a run. We have Tricky on his way to the ending. Let's follow him here and see what he is able to close out. 0.6 behind the leader, could be a low 1:14 here, maybe even dip into the 1:13s with a good identity, and up the hill he goes now, but elects to restart, get one more attempt in, as now the players have to start their final attempts. Coco coming up to the end, Martin, Afi as well coming up, but I don't know if we'll see any changes significant there. Bren saying GG, failed his last attempt here, so the players are going for it now.
It's going to be an early call also for Coco, Afi, and Gwen, and Hydra as well. It seems as though Hydra will not be able to... was he able to manage to get a time on the board? Yes, he did. He's currently in P12 with a 114.107. It seems as though he will be remaining there unless Egir, Legu, Tricky, or Matt have something to say about that. We're less than 50 seconds on the clock. It's going to be no runs for the top runners, except maybe for Yannick's trying to get something going, but he has a bit of a shoddy dirt exit, and that's not going to be good. And Massa, full stop picking right in front of Yannick's eyes, not really trying to put an attempt in there, and that's going to be a 113.706 for Massa, sitting in P5.
Egger failing his last run there. Volnera on pace for something here, though. This looks like it's going to be a 113 here in the last seconds for the French player. Through the checkpoint he goes, and this could be at 113.91. Will jump up to 10th place with that, at least gets some points. But the level is so high that even that time will not get you further than 10th. Legu here, last finisher. Is this going to be an improvement for him? Looks like it will not. So we have the final standings. Gwen will win the first map here in the time attack with a 113.39.
Gwen drawing first blood, but Afi and Yannick keeping in close, especially Afi keeping close tabs on the Game War driver in second place with 113.449. Yannick completing the top 3 with 113.628, and out of the 16 players, 10 made a time in below the 114s. And unfortunately for people, Hydra came on the dotted line towards the last minute to get himself a banker time. Unfortunately, it was not enough to get into those 113s. And unfortunately, currently for the XLT driver, it's going to be in P12. But XLT is really well represented here with 4 players in the combine. And Afi and Yannick are doing them proud honors, sitting in 2nd and 3rd respectively.
Yeah, the Swiss are stepping up here. Very, very exciting to see both OGL players who are battling it through the Open League and now challenging the Grand League players very well here. Actually, 3 Open League players in the top 3 here to start things out. Looking at the last 4 players here, Egger, Legu, Tricky, and Matt, who did get it to work, but the matches are just so close. The pace is so high that even though they're 0.3 behind almost only, it's enough to put you down in last place here. So gonna have to step it up.
The damage can be really heavy if you can't not get that pace right from the get-go, and it's really what's hurting those players. Hurting those players in this opening map. Let's actually hope that they can bounce back on next map, which is going to be Sky Euro.
Yeah, we are on to Sky Euro here. We've seen it in the steps and in the playoffs, and now we're gonna see it one more time here in the combined time attack match. And we know how decisive the identity here is. Let's actually have a look at it. It's the player starts their first one. So coming up to the ending on this track, you have to go up the hill here, and your car will be in what's known as freewheeling, which means that you can no longer accelerate. And so you have to avoid hitting the walls as you go up this hill very precisely, snaking around the holes up the hill here. And the more speed you're able to keep up there, it's gonna stack time exponentially. So very, very vital section to execute well. The players are onto their first runs here. So
you can see the jump most people going for this particular jump right here. Sorry to cut you across here, but it's going to be interesting to see how people will actually deal with that, especially after there had maybe a little bit of a light touch, like a little bit of a lick of a love bite on the outer wall before that particular jump. They're going to have to go for the safe ray. We also saw the first particular jump on just before CP1 with people having to release in order to actually avoid face planting into the checkpoint, and some people actually going from right to left, and that could be pretty costly if they're going a little bit too fast and end up full stop picking in that checkpoint.
Yeah, and so not many survivors here on their first run. We have about half the players left coming up to the identity on their first run. Pack right now leading ahead of Gwen and Afi, and let's see
who's gonna have the better slides. Oh, Gwen having touch, he's going to drop a lot of momentum and gets passed by Afi. Afi having much more momentum, but it's going to be Pack, Afi, and Yannick, your top 3 first. 122.048 for Pack in first, 122.397 of Afi in second, and 122.729 for Yannick in third.
Yeah, Pack starting things off great here. 122.04 could be a time that will stand for a while here. We saw 121s in the warm-up, but that is already very, very solid by the English player here to kick things off. Let's have a look now at the players who didn't make it, because they could be coming up to the end on their first attempt. We have rolling about halfway through the map here. Shortly behind
it seems that we got Brent coming up to the identity really quick.
Oh, he is actually coming up to it right now. Let's follow Bren here across the slides.
Is he gonna go for a hole-in-one? No, he won't so far. It seems as though a bit momentum drop here by Bren, and it's gonna be second time. 122.138, less than a tenth behind Pack in first place. Really strong pace for the Lunary player so far.
Yeah, second place there. Good stuff. I think we see Hydra now actually on his way to the last identity, and he is 0.8 behind her, so we'll have to need a very good identity to make things happen. Will not slide here, will only break past the holes. Very close, but good speed there. 1 second behind only.
Now, as a player, this is kind of one of those sections that is really scary. A single clip trying to go over this, trying to go over the slight edge of the hole can be absolutely devastating and completely wreck your run.
And I just saw we have actually a battle between the two Swiss. They're coming up side by side to the last identity here. Yannick,
we're already having a little bit of a race in here.
And Yannick is on a massive time here, half a second ahead of Pack actually on the splits, and this could be massive if he gets the last part correctly.
Are you sure? It's 0.5 behind on my part. Coming up to the identity. Afi with more speed. Oh, and he clips the outside of the hole. That's going to be it for Afi, who's not going to be able to improve his time. No improvement for Yannick as well. Yannick currently sitting in P5 with 122.729.
Not sure if those splits were correct, because that was an insane pace if it had been the case, but Afi failed.
Basically, he dropped 3/10 during the identity. He had a little bit less pace.
Sadly. Marcy now coming up half a second behind Brent. Could put himself about midway through the field here with a good identity. Driving for Devil's One, but he touches on the inside, and this should maybe not be an improvement any position-wise. Doesn't have a time on the scoreboard though. Massa as well coming up now without a time, but he clips on the uphill. And the slide gang will not prevail this time. He still has 6 minutes left to make something happen.
Yeah, so far 6 players not having set a time. So we got Marcin, Massa. We also got Roland. It seems as though he might have set a time. Yeah, he's currently jumped up to P6 with a 122.860, so that's one less. So Marcin, Massa, Volnera, Matt, and Tricky so far yet to set a time.
Yeah, they still have some minutes to work with, but gonna have to see runs being started now. Gwen still hasn't got it to work here. Sits at a 123.7 that he got in the first one, and trying to start out another run right here. But not too happy with losing 0.2 in the start, so he's going to restart, and that is how close it is. If you lose 2/10, you could consider restarting that run, as it no longer has the pace you are looking for. Looks like we have Egger coming up to the ending. I saw his name tag in the distance, and he is going up the holes here, but will it be anything huge here? 8th place for Egger, who does improve his time, but is 1 second behind Thomas Cole, Pack playing for Molotovs and Marshmallows. So
meanwhile, we had Yannick, who actually did not improve positions, but did improve his time and gained 2/10 with a 122.506. He's currently sitting around a 10th behind its teammate Afi, and it seems as though Revo is coming up towards the second half of the track, and he's going to be trying to improve his time. So far, it is within 7 thousandths of his previous time, so it looks pretty good, although he seems as though the underground party is a little bit struggling.
Yeah,
and that's a touch, and that's going to be a respawn.
But Coco survives, and ladies and gentlemen, Coco here in range to do something about first place here. Only 1600ths behind, and as we say that, we saw Legu get a great time at 122.13 there, jumps up to second, Massa as well. And ladies and gentlemen,
he actually took the top of the standings.
Let's follow Coco here though, in position to snipe first with a great identity. This could be it.
The slide gang is again here with Coco, and it's going to be an improvement, and it gets the top time, 121.967, the first dip below the 122s.
And he's done it, but Afi will follow a 121.79 here from Afi, taking first place right after, and that is a great time by the Swiss player.
The gloves are coming off.
So just look at how close this is. I want to take a minute to appreciate this. So we have Legu in 4th with a 113.3, and we have Marcin in 8th with a 122.19.
I might have a word with the fastest time right now.
Oh, let's have a look.
121.626.
Pack will not let this lead slip away here. One of his best maps maybe, and a 121.626 is going to net him that first place once again here in this map. See now Volnera coming up to the ending. hasn't had the greatest start to this match, hasn't had a time yet actually, and he resets that run. So Matt, Vulnera, and Tricky yet to set a time on this. Tricky failing halfway through the map, Matt still on the start, so these three players gonna have to cook something up now in the last 2 minutes and 50 seconds.
They're looking in big trouble. They're looking to be in some pretty deep trouble. So far, only the top three has been able to dip below the 122s, and so far the closest player to actually achieve that target is currently Gwen, sitting in 4th place to 122.102. Maybe this could be the time for Gwen to potentially make up some time and get himself into those 121s, and it seems as though he's looking to make just that.
Yeah, we are following him right now, and Gwen is on great pace here. Is working on something huge. This could be a 121 here. This could be great points for him. He won the first map, but with a no drift, he might not have time to win this. Only 2 minutes remain, and he's gonna have to get a run going.
He's gonna have to get the run of his life going right now if he wants to actually get into the top 3 battle.
For sure, Massa now coming up to the ending.
And the clip checkpoints.
What's Massa's pace here? Currently sits in 6th place. But on the splits, he is 4th, so he could improve. No, he hits the wall again. Massa has hit the wall, and that will not be an improvement. Goes for one more time on the identity just to practice, and I'm sure he's gonna try for one more attempt here. Does actually improve his time. Wow, Massa,
by 5,000ths of a second.
Even though he hit the wall, he still managed to improve with a great identity section. Surely knows he has the potential now to get a better time, but the timer is ticking, and by now, all players are on their final attempts. You will no longer have time if you restart, so these are going to be the last efforts coming out here. You can see Gwen and Yonex ahead of Massa on their last attempt as well. So these are the players that we are going to follow right now. Though I see Marcin and Roland are coming up to the ending. Marcin will fail, Roland will fail, and Vulnera makes it through, but it's not a great time. Let's go back to Massa now, following Gwen and Yonex. And Pack actually coming up to the ending as well. What is he on about right now? 1100s behind his PB.
Wait for Massa, currently 3,000ths of a second in front of Pack going into the underground part. Let's actually see how he goes into the final section. Yeah, he's looking in good shape so far.
This could be any of the players' game right here. I think they're all on great pace because the distance up to Gwen and Yonex has not shrinked for Massa. So we could have some great times coming out in the last 30 seconds of the match here. Who will get the identity the best? Let's find out. So Gwen there going good. Yonex has made a mistake.
Yonex and Gwen failing. It's going to be Massa coming through.
Massa, and he will actually
121.578.
Wins the map there in the last attempt that he had with a 121.57. Nobody else will be able to contest this, or perhaps Revolution if he has. No, he's too far behind here. So it will be Massa taking first on Sky Europe.
And it seems as though the Slag gang has risen. As first up with Pack, dropping a good 121.626. Afi just following behind, and then Massa dropping the big boy time and going with the 121.578 to win Sky Euro. Pack in second, Afi third. Coco, honorable mention for him in fourth with the 121.967, and for Gwen, he did his best to get into the 121s. Unfortunately, it wasn't to be. He sits in 5th place in 122.102.
Yeah, and looking again now at the final players who hadn't got it to work this match either, Matt, Vulnera, Tricky, and Hedra. Looking, showing some signs of weakness right here, and they need to step it up now, going on to the next map, which is gonna be contest diving? Or was it bunny hop? I think bunny hop.
It is bunny hop. It is bunny hop coming up next.
Yeah, so bunny hop. This is gonna be close. It's one of the easier maps to drive, as we talked about. One of the shorter maps too, and players are gonna get a lot of attempts at it. And I think we're gonna see some very close times. So the players who now really push it will prevail on that track. Here though, I think we're gonna see. I mean, looking at the standings, there are some interesting storylines to pick up on. For example, the fact that it's so close here between the middle positions, and maybe the time becomes more defined in the top players, but in the middle it is anyone's game, and the points are important here. So let's see on the first round of bunny hop now who will start off the best.
Just before we get started with Bunny Hop, I wanted to take a little look at the overall top 3 after 2 maps. So far, Afi with 2nd and 3rd in maps 1 and 2 is the overall leader. Then we got Masa in 2nd place with 5th place on the Mini XXL and first map win on Sky Euro. And Pack is completing the podium so far with 4th place on Mini XXL and 2nd place on Sky Euro.
Yeah, those players off to the best start. Gwen certainly in the mix too with 1st and 5th here. Now, if he gets a good time on Bunny Hop, he could really jump up in the time attack phase of the combine. Here though, in the first round of Bunny Hop, Marston off to the best start, together with Afi, Gwen, and I think it was Bren here. Yeah, up the hill they go. Marston, could he make something big happen here in the combine? And hopefully get into the next season without any technical issues to hold him back. The young Polish player currently leading the first round here on Bunny Hop. Gwen, though, certainly driving a fast run to the final part here. The identity is the Bunny Hop section. Players go over these bumpers and try to get a good line here. Gwen gonna get it the best, but Marcin fast too. Gwen starts it off with a 1:10.16 here.
So 1:10.167 for Gwen in first place. Then we got Marcin with a 1:10.304 in second and 1:10.408 for Bren, completing the overall podium so far. And Pack joining in the battle, less than a 10th behind Bren.
Very, very close to start things off. Only 9 players were able to get a clean first run through in that round. Players like Massa, Roland, and Yonex here that we can see did not. But Yonex coming up to the ending, and Roland is as well. So looking to get their first times on the scoreboard. Yonex only 0.2 behind Marcin here. Could get a great position already if he gets a nice identity here. One more part remaining. Lines it up in the middle, and if he does a proper release timing here, this could be a good time. A 1:10.52 here from Yonex.
So Yonex landing him nicely in 5th place, less than 0.03 of a second behind Pack in 4th.
Yeah, but now we need to see something from Matt, and as I say that, he has got enough time on the scoreboard. It's a 1:11.407 here. So Matt, he got 16th place on Mini XXL. He were in the bottom 4 on Sky Euro, and now could drip a lot of points to the other players if he doesn't make something happen on this and the coming maps here.
So then, let's actually see Egir coming up towards the identity as we speak. So far, sitting in P9 with a time that is good for P9 on his first timed run. Let's actually see how he goes through the bumpers. He will get it pretty much perfectly, and that's going to be P8 for him with a 1:10.854. Slots him in 8th place, 1/10.5 behind Tricky in 7th.
Yeah, good stuff here coming out from Egir, the Hungarian player for Team Centauri here. Has been looking great in the Open League, and now with that time and perhaps even an improvement, looking to challenge the Grand League players and get himself a spot here.
So let's actually see.
I think we saw Pack coming up now to the ending. Maybe even Roland is on his way there. Can be a bit hectic to follow these matches. No, it is in fact Massa who's on to his first finish here. Still has yet to set a time, but this could be a good one. The splits indicate 0.8 behind here, so maybe not the best, but good to start things out. Get yourself time on the board. Now you have something to work with. Let's now follow Pack to see what he is able to do. No, he had to restart his run there. Didn't get it to work. In that one, Tricky coming up to the end. He is only 300 behind Afi in first right now.
Ooh, this is looking really good for the French driver.
Over the identity he goes. 2 more bounces remain, and he will get into 7th actually. Dropped a bit of time at the end, and now secures himself at 1:10.57 in that one.
Half a 10th only separates him from Yonex, so he keeps this 7th position, but a marked improvement as he's going to seek to actually dislodge the Swiss driver from 6th place.
Yeah, and now we saw Roland in the distance there, coming up to the ending. That is going to be a 2nd place for him, a 1:10.15 by the Austrian, and many people doubted Roland coming into this after not seeing the best from him in Grand League, but this is a Roland in top shape here today, it seems like. Has stepped up his pace, has gotten the practice down, and he is putting his name almost at the top of the scoreboard here going into this.
Meanwhile, Pack currently going through the bumpers as we speak, and he will score 5th place with 1:10.295, and thus moves up to 5th. Bren will be in 6th with a 110.408, and Yannex will be demoted down to P7.
Very, very close here, as we expected. Look at the differences. Only hundreds separate these players, and it is becoming that close because this track for players of this caliber is one of the easier to drive, and they're pushing very close to each corner here to make sure that they'll gain a few tiny hundreds, decisive hundreds on their opponents, and get higher on the scoreboard.
Marcin was in a pretty good time as of CP number 5 or 6. He was actually 2/10 up, but unfortunately he clipped the wall in the uphill part, was slaloming the holes, and that was actually forcing him to restart round itself. So Marcin, the Polish driver, currently sitting on top of the standings with a 110.037. We're really close to seeing a 109 here.
Oh, and I just saw Matt. He was finally onto something with a run only 2/10 behind the leader coming up to the ending, but he did touch the wall there and still sits now in 15th place. Legu currently in last place here, but he is past the start, had to optimize around the hole, did not work there for him. Massa now coming up to the ending as well, together with Gwen. Could Gwen be onto something here? Currently in 4th place with a 110.16, but he will fail the identity, so no, will not be an improvement for him. We have Massa coming up now to the ending. Only 1600s behind going into it, and this could be a great time from Massa. 110.28 and a 5th place there from the big player.
And so far we're seeing, fun fact, 6 different nationalities in the top 6. Poland in 1st place, Switzerland 2nd, Austria 3rd, France 4th, Germany 5th, and England or United Kingdom in 6th.
Yeah, and Egger almost making it 7 there, but we saw him hit the finish at the very end. Didn't release enough, and wasn't able to improve his time there. So unfortunate for him, we have Matt on a run again. 0.2 is the difference, as it wasn't last time, but now he needs to close this out with only 3 minutes on the clock. Needs to get a better run on the scoreboard. This could be it. No, he touches the wall, and it won't
the double
be.
touch.
But Legu has made it through to the ending, only 0.48 behind. Could get himself an improvement and a better position. 9th it is, with a time of 110.56 there, beating his teammate Tricky, both playing for team versatility with only 1/100th of a second. So great stuff from Legu. Jumps up and now puts himself in the mix.
So let's actually see if they got anything coming up. We got Yannex, who's going to come up to the identity as we speak right now. 400ths of a second up on his best time. Moving up to 10th now. That could potentially moving up to 4th place. And even 2nd place, as we saw, over a 10th of an improvement onto the bumpers. Let's actually see if he gets a much better bumper, and he move up to 4th with a 110.122. And Gwen drops sub 110, a 109.985 for the Game War driver, who moves up onto the top of the leaderboard, and a Frenchman moves up to 1st.
Yeah, a lot of improvements happened there. We saw Gwen with a 109.98. We saw Yannex with a 110.12, and we saw Bren with a 110.23. Now things are really getting close here as we're going into the last runs for each player here. Now's the time to make something happen. The timer is ticking. 1 minute 30, and you have to start your final attempts soon here.
And so we're approaching the point of no return with 90 seconds left on the clock. Remember, at least around 1 minute and 15 seconds must be done at the respawn in order to actually get one solid run. But you're going to have to ride the run of your life. And currently, Bren is coming up towards the ending of the track, currently sitting at P5 and on an improvement. 400ths of a second up on his time, a really wide exit there, but he manages to get it all right, and he's going to come up to the identity. Oh, he clips the hole, and that's going to be it for Bren, and that's going to be the GG call for the Luminary driver.
Another run either. He's not able to start another run either because it was too late. Revolution here though, final improvement, final identity for him on this map. Will he make it worth his time here? A 110.51 will be an improvement. Jumps up to 9th place with that time there. But will anyone else be able to make something happen now in the last 40 seconds? I think we saw Pack on his hero run here together with Vulnera, the last 2 players here, trying now to improve their time. Pack though not onto the best, so we will have to take a look at Vulnera, currently in 14th place. No, he has failed there. And will there be anyone? Offie maybe. And Roland looking to make something happen now. Roland currently in 6th place. shortly behind Afi here in this final run, and this is something good here from Roland. Only 300s behind Gwen, 800s as he goes up to the ending with Afi. But do they have enough time here? Have they miscalculated this?
That's gonna be tight. 5 seconds left on the clock. It's gonna be on the dotted line. It's gonna be the finish for Roland, and it's gonna be up to P4. Holy cow!
Roland cuts. It's so close there. Only 0 seconds left on the timer as he crosses the line with a 1:10.08, but it's enough to get him 4th place in this match.
One tiny mistake in the line coming up to the bumper would have spelled disaster for Roland, and in the end he makes up the time to move up into 4th place in the end. And so, Gwen, with the only sub 110 of the map, wins on Bunny Hop. 2nd place for Martin with a 110.037, and Afi completing the podium with a 110.050.
Yeah, super close there, but Gwen inching out ahead and inching below 110 there into the 109 territory. Great stuff from him. Now, perhaps leading the match overall remains to be seen, but looking at the other players here, we have 9 players within 0.3 of a second after just 10 minutes of driving. Super close, and the players who didn't get it to work here, Hyadra, Eger, Volnera and Coco in the final 4. So yeah, Hyadra now looking desperate. Matt, was he able to get a good position here? Actually was able to get 5th, so great from Matt. Matt gets some good points on this map and gets his 1st position in the top 8 here, and the top 5 actually.
Yeah, 110.1 for Matt, a little over a 10th up to Gwen, but Gwen was absolutely on a class of his, and I actually missed the run from Gwen as I was commentating on one of the other drivers that was actually finishing his run, but Gwen, sorry, dropping a big time with the sub 110, and now we're heading on to map number 4, which is going to be Contest Diving.
Yeah, and this was one of the maps that we talked about going into this that could be decisive because of the so-called double identity here. There are 2 different parts to this identity. The first one is the grass slide on the water ledge, and the second part is the ending, where there are 2 different lines the players will take, and we are going to see it as we get to that part. But also one of the most interesting tracks because of how diverse it is. We see a lot of dirt driving on this track that favors different players in this field. To mention some, we have Revolution, Roland, and I would say Gwen and Bren, probably one of the top dirt drivers here. We also have some technical parts and some full speed, so this track really favors those who can master all aspects of Trackmania, and including strats like the so-called grass slide here at the end.
Oh, Gwen going with a really different line. Sorry to interrupt you, but he was looking really high at the end of the wall ride, but took an aggressive line. That's going to be a respawn for him. Masa, Coco, and Marcin will be your top 3 heading into the identity. Masa and Coco battling it out with each other, having a little race within the race itself. Now we're going to go on to the first part of the identity. Who will go for the curb kick? Who will go for the safe strat? It's going to be safe strat for everyone, but Coco will fall in the water, and now it's going to be Masa versus Marcin onto the second part of the identity. Who is going to get the honors of crossing the finish line first? We're going to have to see. Masa is in good shape, and it seems as though it will be Masa who will get the first time on the board with the 123.218. Marcin in second place with the 123.945.
Yeah, Masa kicking things off here, already a 123 low, and that was a time good enough to win rounds in the playoffs on this track, so great stuff from him. Yonex though answering with a 123.20, only 100th ahead, and wow, we are in for a match here. I think all these players have been practicing this map over the last month now, refining their skill, and it's showing here. We already have 2 very good times by Masa and Yonex on the scoreboard, and Roland is looking to make it 3 now on this run, coming up to the ending. 1 identity here, and then the final part. Let's see what he's able to do here. Goes very close. Will he remain on the water ledge? Barely, but does he have the line? No, he will drip some time there. Elects to finish this run anyways. Let's see what he's able to do on the final water ledge here. Goes on the left side, gets a very shaky landing, and respawns there. So it fell apart in the ending for him.
Meanwhile, Legu has completed his first time run and slots himself in 3rd place with 123.631. But as I say that, Masa coming up, it seems that no, it is actually Afi or... Ooh,
Afi,
no,
Afi,
it is actually Afi. Afi, yeah, I completely brain farted, sorry. With the 122.758, who moves up into 1st place, half a second in front of his teammate Yonex.
And that is an incredible time there from Afi, a 122.7. I myself didn't even know that was possible. So Afi, really showing strength here already with 7 minutes left to work with. Looking poised to maybe take the win here on this track.
Yannick's having failed a run. It seems as though we got Matt, who's going towards the entity. No, I must have been mistaken. It must have been someone else. I'm really sorry about that.
But yeah, we already see that 9 of the players still have not finished the run here, as we're almost halfway through the timer. With 4 minutes played, only 7 players have finished here, though Hydra and Roland are coming up to the ending now, and Roland is on pace for something here. Currently in 4th place on the splits, 0.3 behind, but he crashes, and now we will receive Hydra as he goes towards the identity here.
This is going to be his first timed run on the board here, as he will go through the grass line, opting for the safe strat. No curb clip for him. Works out pretty well. He manages to get safely on the blue curb on the outside. Now he's going to have to deal with the second part with that drop down and negotiating the curbs, and he's going to be able to cross the finish line maybe. Yes, he will be in 7th place with the 123.935.
Yeah, Hydra getting a time on the board there. That is enough for 7th place, and he has something to work with now. But looking at the splits in his run there, we saw that Afi gained over 0.3 of a second in that identity section alone. He must have gotten a very good one, and I think he was coming up to it again here. Has he figured something out here? Certainly not on that run as he jumps into the water, but might not need to do much more in this race to take 1st place here. Will anyone be able to contest that time? We see Pack now coming up to the ending of his run. 0.2 is the difference, at least going into the identity, but what will it be when we get out of it? Let's see here. Pack going very wide on the entry. The difference was 0.13 and it is now 0.45. Afi has certainly worked his magic there and gotten an incredible section. And that's why he sits in 1st right now. Pack with a slow landing will not improve his time and has to go back to the start of the map.
Meanwhile, we had Bren, who actually finished a really good run and slumps himself up into 2nd place with 123.092, and Gwen has just finished his run as well, less than around half a tenth behind Bren with 123.145 in 3rd place.
Yeah, Gwen there just jumping up to 3rd place now. I think there's going to be a battle for 2nd for now, as Gwen tries to challenge Bren there. Only 500 is the difference between those 2 players.
And it seems as though so far we still have 3 drivers yet to set a time. Those are Egir from Team Zentori, Versatility Stricky, and Coco from Team Oserve. Still yet to set a time. It seems as though Coco is the one closer to get on a time on the board here. So far looking good for P10 with 0.6 down on the leader Afi, as he will go through the final part of the identity, negotiating the curbs, and that's going to be the finish line for him. Ooh! And that's going to be, unfortunately, 14th place with the 124.402.
Shaky ending there. Coco demonstrating just how wrong the last part can go. If you're just a bit off your line, everything can go wrong there, and he will lose some time just at the end of the map, and has to try again now to get a clean ending. Very decisive on this track. That last part can lose up to half a second just if your lines aren't perfectly optimal. Egger now coming up to the ending, one of the 2 players without a time, and this could be good for him. Needs a great identity here though if he wants to get a top position on this run. Could catch a lot of players here if this part is good, but he will remain in 12th on the splits, and now the final landing will be decisive for him. What time is he on to right now? Gets the first part good, jumps over the first bump, and onto the second one he goes. It's a 124.07. Only enough for 14th place there. Makes 1 position improvement, but needs to get something good in the last 3 minutes.
Meanwhile, it seems as though Afi is coming up towards the ending part of the track. He was 0.3 up and 1.03 up on his time with a little bit of a shoddy line. He loses 700s, but still remaining within distance of his really nice time of 122.758 as he comes up to the identity. Once again, it seems as though he got it really well with the bounce that lifted the wheels that really helped him and avoided disaster for him, and he's going to go through the identity 1/10 down on his time, and he will remain the leader as of now, with 2 minutes and 30 seconds left on the clock.
But look at this, he's now doubled 1st place here, another time better than anyone else has gotten in these 8 minutes that we've played. and seems really confident on this track. Who can challenge him here, if anyone? Right now we have Pack and Revo almost side by side here, coming up to the ending on their runs, and with only 2 minutes left, this is going to be their second last attempt here to make something happen in this match on this track here. So let's receive both. We have Pack coming up to the identity now first, and he is actually first on this run as well, 800s ahead of Offie. Coming into the identity, will this be it for the English player? Goes very inside, and that is not good speed. He will drop down to 4th on the splits here, and needs a really good final part here to jump up in the position. Second place, 1500s behind Offie. Could be a 122. No, he will crash the ending, but makes it through. A 123.16 there for Pack. And now
damage mitigation for Pack. Sorry to interrupt you in there.
Yeah,
and
really good.
I wanted to take a little bit of a time to actually update you on the overall rankings that are being updated as we speak so far. So far as we see right now, Offie would take the overall lead with Gwen in 2nd place and Masa in 3rd.
Yeah, and now the players are finishing up their final runs here. Roland and Coco on the last part of their last runs here. Roland not looking to be onto something, 0.7 behind his PB. And I think Coco didn't make an improvement either. While the remaining players, there are actually players still on their last runs. I think we saw Legu and Tricky driving a final run here. Vulnera as well. This is the time to do something here. Aguirre coming up to the ending. Currently in 12th place, but this could be an improvement for him. Only 0.45 behind Pack, who had a great split here. So certainly in the mix. Gets a good grass slide there and will be in fighting position here. 1 turn remaining now for the Hungarian player. Oh, but it's very bumpy. He will crash the ring, and that's not going to be an improvement for Aguirre there, who fails it. Tricky though, coming up to the ending, could make a time here, and it is a time indeed. A 1:23.81 in the last second, gets a time on the scoreboard, enough for 13th place. So there is the standings on contest diving. Offie with that 1:22.75 will take the map win. Bren in 2nd with a 1:23.09, and Gwen in 3rd with a 1:23.14.
Offie, just like Gwen, being the only one above the rest, with Gwen dropping a sub 110 on Bunny Hop here. It's a sub 123 for Offie on contest diving, and it seems as though we got some pretty good margins. Yeah, top 8 within like 6/10, I think, and the between 2nd and the 8th place, it's only like 2/10. So yeah, looking pretty close.
Looking close indeed. We saw Offie now jumping up to 1st in the overall standing so far in the time attack, with half of the maps being played here, and Gwen certainly up there. Masa getting another top position, but in the bottom here we find Hyedra again together with Tricky. Seems to not have gotten this to work here on contest diving, but we will have to see the final tracks if they can turn it around.
Yeah, here's hope to players such as Coco, Tricky, and Hydra, as well as Vulnera, the bottom 4 from this particular map, that they can turn it around on map number 5, which is going to be Zeppelin coming up. The points guillotine from step 5 is back at it again, boys.
Yeah, Zeppelin here. We've seen most of anything be decisive at that Zeppelin part that you can see in the preview there. And we will take you through it now on the first run. This is the identity on the track, one of the hardest in the Grand League and one of the most decisive. So coming up to the last part here, the players have to jump onto the Zeppelin, this airship, drop off to either side. We see most players go towards the left side, get this checkpoint, jump up through this half pipe jump, take the checkpoint, land on the other side, take this checkpoint, and then jump back onto the Zeppelin to go towards the finish here. Players now onto their first runs, and let's see who gets off to the best start here.
It seems as though Marcin and Yannick are leading the top two. We saw some very big clips just behind Gwen. Gwen in third place, and Liggy currently sitting down in fourth. And as we come up to the wall ride with a really big jump coming up around 330 kilometers an hour needed to clear it. Go on the left side and get some enough time to clear the gap and land back onto the road as we head into the dirt part. Now, if we were in a regular step, you would see a wallbang, but here, as wallbangs are not allowed, we will be seeing the regular way around the dirt part.
Yeah,
Whoa.
so players who
My English is completely broken, sorry guys.
So players who opted to do the wallbang on the dirt there will now have to adapt and drive it normally, as they have to get used to the new rule set. And these players in the top here, Gwen, Marcin, Legu, and Pack, have gotten it off to the best start. But here we go with the identity. So here you can see it, Gwen and Marcin jumping onto the airship first, dropping off to the left side, now jumping through the checkpoint here to the other half pipe. Pack going very low, and they are on to good times in the first lap here already. One more part remaining here, and all these three players will get off to a great start. Gwen though with the best of 1:26.29 to start things off.
Gwen with a really good time, 4/10 ahead of Martin in second, and Pack in third with 1:26.798. And the first man in the 1:27s out of the 5 people that have got a time run so far is Legu with the 1:27.085 in fourth place.
Yes, we saw Afi not off to the best start there. Did an early mistake on the first lap, but he's onto his second run right now, and it is currently faster than Gwen, the current leader. So Afi here looking again to do another good time here on this track if he can get the ending right. Only 0.14 away, which is within striking distance for the Swiss player. One more drift here, and then we go up to the identity. Will Afi nail this now and solidify his first place, going very low onto the transition there, but it's enough. And now he clears the half-pipe jump. Could be good here. He's closing the distance towards Gwen. Is it enough for first place? Even 700s away only. Oh, loses a bit of grip onto the Zeppelin there. Goes very low on the exit, and it will not be enough. Gwen had a great ending there, but Afi getting second place, and that's already a good start to this map for him.
Yeah, really good start for Afi, despite the momentum loss on the identity part, despite a really good Tony Hawk dunk on the transfer jump on the hive pipe. And it seems as though we're getting more and more people getting runs by the minute. And so far, 5 players out of the 16 have got a time within the 1:27s, with Coco being the last one with the 1:26.957.
We are just seeing in chat right now, Carl is saying the world record is actually a 26.29, so Gwen could perhaps have driven the world record here on the first run. That would certainly be something. But
that would be really something. And it seems as though he's not looking to stop there. He's already half a tenth in front of his PB as he's just started another run. With a really dodgy landing on the half pipe, but that's going to be a reset for him.
Yeah, reset for Gwen there. Not going to improve the world record just yet, if at all, but starting off this map now with a great run there. The players who haven't finished right now are Massa, Yonex. We also have Vulnera, Matt, Bren, and Tricky. Let's see if any of those players are on a run here. Bren coming up to the ending, actually, half a second behind here. So this could be something for him. 7th place is the split, half a second difference, and he will get a good transition there. So Brent could jump up in the standings here, enough for a 5th place, 1:26.89 by the Lyon Esports Tournament winner there.
And so far, we're seeing 3 Frenchmen in the top 6. Gwen again leading the standings with 1:26.292. Currently heading towards the second half of the track and already 2/10 up almost on his personal best. Are we going to see a 25 from Gwen? This will be absolutely stunking with around half the time left to go on Zeppelin.
He has the lead to work with now, but his ending was good in his first run, and he is going to have to match none other than Gwen himself on the ending here. If anyone can do it, it would be him himself, but he clips the transition there and will have to reset that run.
Yeah, unfortunately for him, he had lost a little bit of time coming up to the identity. He went down to a 10th up on his personal best, but still 3/10 of an advantage almost between him and Afi in second.
So we have Hyadra doing the ending now, together with Agur. And Matt and Offie, no, Matt, sorry, is actually coming up to it. Still has yet to set a time on this track. No, he did restart that run as well. So many players still without a time halfway through the match. But Marcin, a 1:26.06 there by the Polish player. And the young players are doing great in this match so far. Marcin there, huge time.
And apparently, according to the Grand League champion himself, Carl Jr., it's apparently a world record on this map. So Marcin dropping some big boy times. Could we see a 1:25 with 4 minutes left to go? A bit of a tough call, but let's see what happens.
We already had 2 world record improvements in this match, so a third one would be much to ask for, but if anyone can do it, it is these 16 players. So many weeks of practice here to get themselves ready for this match, and right now, if they're dropping world records, you can get a sense of the level they're playing at. So huge performance here so far in this track. Now we see Coco here. Hasn't gotten it to work that well in this match so far. Currently sits in 5th place on Zeppelin though, and that is good for him. Currently on another run here, 37 seconds into it, halfway through the track just about, and coming up to the dirt. He is only 0.10 behind his PB, but hits the wall there and has to restart the run. Legu coming up to the ending, currently in 11th place here. What is gonna be here? Oh, he is 48 hundredths behind, but enough for a great time. Disregarding Marcin and Gwen, this could be a challenger for 3rd place here with a good ending. Gets through the hoop just fine, and now one more jump onto the airship again remains for Legu, and he will get it and will score an improvement here. But what is it gonna be? It's 11th place for Legu, so no position improvement, just a time improvement.
Just a time improvement so far, and only 11 players so far within the 1:26s. Meanwhile, Egir, Roland, and Volnera are outside of that zone and are really looking in trouble. And Matt in tricky even more so, as Matt is about to set a time as we speak right now, and it will be a 1:26.8, moving up to P10. So all that only leaves Tricky left to actually get into the timing sheets.
Yeah. Hate to use the pun, but Tricky is in a bit of a tricky situation right now. 2 minutes remain on the clock, and it is one of the longest tracks in the Grand League. It takes 1 minute and 26 to complete, so he is on to either his second last or his last run right here. And you are certainly feeling the pressure with only 2 shots left in the magazine here. Will he be able to make one of them count and get himself up on the scoreboard? Currently only 1800s behind on this run. 30 seconds into it now, but he will clip the light there, and that could be the last attempt now that he's starting on to set a time here.
The pressure is on for Tricky after that tiny little mistake, that tiny clip on the lights on the pole on the outside. That was really what cost him, and I think in his head he must be absolutely livid, and that mindset can potentially linger on with the little amount of time that is actually currently remaining for him to get a good time going.
Yeah, you're certainly feeling the stress when you know that you only have 1 run left and you have to make it count. You have to get the lines just right, just what you've been practicing, and you have to execute it. Roland though, doing just that on his last attempt on the last part of the Zeppelin here, gets past it just fine. Looking to improve his time now, 7/10 ahead of his PB, and whether he jumps a position or not, we will have to see, but certainly getting an improvement here just in the end, just in the nick of time. One more part, and it's a 1:27.13, so not enough for 1:26, but improves his time nonetheless. Not finishing a run there. I think that was enough for 8th place for him, 1:26.66. Improves his time. We have Pack now coming up to the ending. Offie as well on the last Zeppelin here. What will it be for Offie? Secures 3rd place, a 1:26.34 from Offie. Pack now coming up to the ending. Last drop will work out for him, but what is the time gonna be? 1:26.79 there, 28 seconds remaining. Yonex, last attempt here. Let's see what he can do. Yonex now jumps onto the Zeppelin. Jumps down from the Zeppelin, and it's not going to be an improvement. 300s behind his PB, just barely. Bren, the time is ticking, 8 seconds remain. Does he have enough to clear the gap towards the finish? It will be enough.
It will be across the line.
And it's 4th place time here in the last second for Bren, 1:26.56. clutch moment there from Bren to get good points on this track as well.
So then, after on this map number 5, Marcin, Gwen, and Afi, your top 3. Marcin with 126.062. After I got debated by the chat, thank you very much. Sorry, I didn't want to pronounce any rude words, otherwise I want to end up getting banned. Sorry. Gwen in second place with the 126.292, and Afi third with the 126.344. Bren just behind in fourth with 126.564.
Yeah, and as the chat pointed out here, Tricky actually did not finish this track. Gets no time on the scoreboard, and that is a last place on this map for him. So if you just can't get it to work, if you can't get off to a good start, that is how it can snowball, and we'll leave this map now without any time or any points.
I was actually spectating him whilst you were actually commenting on the other players, and Tricky was actually on course to get a time on the board, albeit 2 seconds down after clipping the wall on the exit of the uphill dirt turn before the final part of the identity of coming up to the identity, and then he completely choked it on the first Zeppelin jump and actually landed in between the ramps on either side, and at this point he decided that he was completely done with his life and decided to completely abort the run. And so yeah, sadly no time on the board for Tricky, who will not score anything.
But he will have one last chance here on the final track of the time attack phase of the combine. This is going to be interesting. We are going on to rock or roll here. So ladies and gentlemen, the last track of this combined time attack phase is going to be very, very decisive. We have the identity here, of course, the rock or roll staircase that we all know and love from the steps and from the playoffs. The players have to clear this the best they can, and they are damn good at it after practicing for this event here.
Fun fact about the playoffs, I think we saw it in pretty much every match aside from the winner bracket final, if I'm not mistaken. 5 times out of 6 during the playoffs, we actually saw this map being played once, being at least one of the picks, either the pick from one player or being a random pick. So yeah, it is actually, we're not yet done seeing this map at the moment, and it seems as though Volnera and Afi, the XLT duo, leading the field.
Yeah, shortly ahead of Bren and Tricky though, who are fighting, but Volnera onto the best start. Look how far ahead he is of the other players. Could be onto a great time already in his first attempt on this map, but we know not to call things too soon because they will have to pass the rock and roll staircase at the ending, and before you're past that, you are not sure of your run at all. Here we go with the first time on the identity. Let's see if he can get it. Afi jumping super far, will now make it. Volnera though closing out the run, and it's a great time to start things off. A 1:10.81 there.
1:10.81 for 1:10.813 for Volnera in first place, Legu in 1:11.127 in second, and Bren with a 1:11.395 in third. And so far, 7 people have gotten clean runs. It seems as though we got someone who I completely forgot who actually crossed the line just about. But yeah, so far 8 players even into the timing sheet so far, having a lot of time.
Yeah, so that was Massa there who managed to get a time, but Yonex, what is that? A 1:10.30 here, already showing dominance on this track now, getting himself half a second ahead of anyone else on this track. That's a huge time from Yonex to start things out here.
Yeah, huge time for Yonex, and yes, Exalti again, 1-2. Could we see a 1-2-3 with one of the other players and Afi potentially getting into the top 3? We're going to have to see how everything goes for the other Swiss half of Exalti, as he is about to head into the final part of the track, coming up to the identity in a little bit. And so far, it's looking good for second place, 1/10 down on his teammate Yonex. The identity coming up in the best part of 5 seconds, and apparently Gwen. Sorry. And yeah, Afi coming up to the identity. First bounce, really well done. Second bounce, ooh, that was really rocky. And that's going to propel him up. No, it's not going to be propelling him up. And anyway, due to the landing, it's going to be down to P8 for him with the 1:11.102.
Yeah, so far only 5 players have dipped into the 1:10s, but Afi dipping well more than that with a 1:10.30, almost down to the 1:09s. Crazy time there. Curious to see if anyone will be able to match it in this race here. 7 minutes remaining. Nothing decided yet, but certainly looking good for him there. And so far, Gwen and Marcin actually have not finished a run, though. Gwen is coming up to the ending. I'm not sure why we have the internal camera perspective here, but we are following Gwen onto his run here. Let's see now on the identity.
Bottom right if you want to change the camera back to the replay view. Meanwhile, it seems as though Matt is currently on a really marked improvement, almost 4/10 up on his time, but he had a bit of a dodgy uphill here. Still in an improvement though, currently sitting in 3rd place with a 1:10.625 as he comes up to the identity in the best part of 10 to 15 seconds right now. Currently looking good for P4, 2/10 down on Yannex, and it seems as though it's looking set to stay that way. Oh, with a really dodgy drift, and that's going to drop some momentum here. He's going to have to close this run regardless. Going through the identity, 4/10 down as he heads into it. 3rd bounce actually going for the 4th platform, and that's going to be it for him. A reset.
Yeah.
And Gwen having dropped her time on board.
Yeah, Gwen jumping up to 2nd place there. Trying to answer now to Yannex. A 1:10.54 is the time he was able to set there. Certainly good enough for one of the top positions, but could close this match out in fashion with another top position. Looking now, we see Packy actually coming up to the ending of the track. Only one tech turn remain, and this is one of the trickiest. But as a former tech world champion, it is no match for him. One identity though could stop him in his tracks for 3rd place here. Let's see if Packy is able to get this. Oh, barely, but he will not make the turn. And that
really
was
unfortunate.
So frustrating. Failing the last part of the track there.
Holy crap, that was so devastating what happened here with the wheel clip outside. And during the time you were commentating, Marcin has got himself a time on the board, currently in P13 only with a 1:11.323. He's going to be looking to bounce back as there is only 5 minutes left in the overall time attack combined phase.
Matt gets a very good ram cut there, could perhaps gain a lot of time with that, but his landing will be equally shaky. 2 packs, though he does survive. A 1:10.83 is the time. But as we say that, Legu now jumps up to 2nd place here with a 1:10.50, puts himself in the mix finally, it seems, after not getting it to work that well on the other maps here. Now we are receiving Hydra coming up to the ending. So let's see here, 0.2 behind Yannex with 1 identity remaining here for the other Exalty player. Will he join his teammate on the top of the scoreboard here? The landing looks good, though the speed is low, and he will be 0.6 behind. 1:10.81 there, sorry, 91 for Hydra.
So far the top 3 remaining as it is, with Yannex 1st, Legu 2nd, and Gwen 3rd, with only 2.5 tenths between the top 3. And meanwhile, it seems as though we got Bren coming up towards the fast-paced part of the track, going to the identity. He's currently looking pretty good, within a tenth of his actual PB here. It seems as though you caught something that happened here.
Yeah,
Virtual.
Pack failed the ending again. 2 great runs to the identity, and he did blow them away on that last staircase. Bren now, though, as you said, coming up to the identity as well. 0.2 is the difference, but that is a very shaky landing, and will fall out of the track. It seems that the players here have to keep their mentality stable as they are throwing runs at that identity as fast as they can. And when you're driving at that pace, it is very, very risky. And if you fail it, you'll have to drive just perfect pace for another minute to get another chance. And Gwen and Egger are actually coming up to it here. Let's first look at Egger, who is a bit ahead, currently in 15th place, and could improve his time here, though the splits indicate this is not going to be a top pace, but with a good ending here, he could improve his time, and only 1,000 behind, he will improve up to 13th place. But now let's receive Gwen coming up to it. We'll get a good landing. What time is this going to be? It is going to be a 1:10.56, so not improving, but it's so close between the top 5 players.
Really close margins indeed between the top 5. Only 3 tenths between Yannex in 1st and Matt in 5th. Meanwhile, Bren is still looking to get an improvement as he just restarts a run. Let's actually see if there's anybody else coming up to the finish as we speak. As we see Hydra currently sitting in P11 with 1:10.918, coming up to the finish with the identity first. Bounce on the 3rd platform, done really well. Let's actually see the landing equally done as well. And that's going to be no improvement, unfortunately, for him. Still sitting in P12. Failing in P11, sorry.
Massa coming up here, and he will not be able to improve his time. And I saw we also had Nat and Offie going towards the ending. Let's first see Offie here. He could be onto something with a good last part. This could challenge Yannex. No, he is too slow, but he got 2nd place there. And the 2 Exalty players are once again back in the lead here. Yannick's and Afi 10 apart, but just next to each other on the scoreboard with only 1 minute remaining here on Rock or Roll.
1 minute and 40 seconds remaining. Let's actually see if we can actually get any other players to bounce back and actually have something to say about the XLT 1-2 that we see currently. We have Gwen, who's currently trying to get a good banker running, and it looks like the time is ticking down for all players as we're getting down to the minute 10, and only one run will be able to be completed if we respawn at this point, and that's going to be the case for Gwen. So now it's all eyes on him to get up into the top 3 and potentially top 2.
Yeah, he has one more chance here. Now he's on his final bullet. We see Marcin though on top of the tower, currently in 15th place. This is his last chance to make something happen here, and he will nail the identity, but how far up will this propel him? Only up to 12th place, and that's not going to be too great of a map for him there.
And it seems as though it's going to be done for Gwen as well. He had to respawn at the first transfer, so that's the GG's called, with the first GG's called by Tricky and Maza, who in his words has deaded during the run, and unfortunately for him, he will not be able to improve. Meanwhile, Egir going through the final part of the track, not looking really good so far. And it's going to be looking set to be a Swiss 1-2 with Yannick and Afi.
Might just be another improvement for Afi. No, as I say that, he crashes the checkpoint. He was on pace to maybe do something to Yannick's 1:10:30, but it will not be the case. Legu now coming up with Roland and Egger to the identity themselves. Last attempt here. Roland will get through, but what is the time going to be? It won't put him into the top 12 here, so not the best map for Roland. But ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be the final track of the time attack phase of the combine. Yannick will take this map, Rock and Roll here with a 1:10:30, Afi in second with a 1:10:40, and Legu in third with a 1:10:50.